If you have a deal for $120,000, and you have somebody that wants to buy it for $120,000, and you've got a lender that'll discount the note $15,000, can you make money now? Sure you can. Make a quick $15,000, can't you? See, so sometimes if you work with somebody, you might not recognize the opportunity on the surface, particularly if you're just starting out. But what you do is you send the deals into me, and we take a look at them, and we're going to make some suggestions about other avenues you might want to pursue. It's just like I talked about before. You work with the experts. Work with people that have the experience. You know, it's when I started out, I didn't have this experience. I never would have recognized an opportunity there. I would have walked right past it. Now, these strategies that I'm talking to you about, the lien negotiations, are not something that I made up. And I know a few of you in here have seen things like that before, and some people maybe even have done them. But the man that taught me, Reese talked about him a little bit earlier, the man that taught me these strategies, his name was Ted Thomas. And Ted Thomas is a genius when it comes to foreclosures. He's written several books on the subject of foreclosure, and that's what he specializes in. I'll tell you a quick story about Ted. Anybody ever heard of Black Hawk Country Club up in Northern California? A few of you have. It's a real exclusive community. And Ted had reached the point in his life of success where he had a $160 million empire, real estate empire. He had 200 employees. He lived out at Black Hawk Country Club and had all the stuff. He was looking good. And this was in the middle 80s, and most of his holdings were through limited partnerships. And the tax laws changed. And Ted Thomas's empire came crashing down. And what happened was his house in Black Hawk went on the auction block. It went up for foreclosure. And Ted didn't get any letters from anybody asking him if they wanted to sell his property. He watched his property get sold for about half of what it was worth at the foreclosure sale. And so what he thought, because he's a smart guy, what he thought is, you know what, there's something here. And Ted Thomas is the one that has put this system together. He calls it the Thomas system. And so Ted Thomas is actually, I'd like to take credit for everything that I'm talking about up here today, but he's the one that has guided me through it. And now I'm here to help guide you through it. And Ted Thomas is the guy that Reese talked about him earlier. If you have a chance to be trained by Ted Thomas, you're going to want to jump on it. Now let me show you some of the deals that I've done. This is a property. How many people right here, how many people in this room would pay $5,000 for a deal that gave them $15,000 when they closed escrow and they still owned the property? Hey, everybody should have raised their hand on that one. Might be a little confusing, but let me show you. I was sending out my letters. This is in San Diego. I spent 2 years in San Diego working in the foreclosure market. And I was sending out my letters, and I got a call from a gal, because a lot of times they don't respond on the first letter. Everybody agree with that? Do you think your letter is going to be the only one that a person receives? No, it's not. So they're going to get a lot of different letters, and one of the things that we do is, I've written hundreds of different letters. We show you the letters that work. Now, I'm sending out letters to people, and it was, normally they won't respond on the first time, the second time, sometimes it's the third or fourth. This gal called me up about 10 days before the foreclosure sale was going to take place. Now, who can stop the sale? The trustee, or the lender. The lender can order the trustee to stop the sale. Say, I want to, or postpone it, right? If they want to postpone the sale, they can do that. So anyway, this gal contacts me, and she says, Craig, I've got this little rental house. It's in a tough part of town. I've owned it for a long time, and I've got quite a bit of equity in it. I don't really know how much, but if you could give me $10,000, I'd walk away from it. I said, okay, well, let me go out and take a look at the house. I drove out there and I took a look at it, and I determined that the house was worth about $75,000. Okay? I pulled up a property profile on the property. It had a first mortgage. For you people in the back, you might want to write the numbers down. First mortgage of $19,900, second mortgage or second lien of about $2,500, and a third one of about $8,500. This $25,000 wasn't there yet. So it had about $30,000 worth of liens on it. Plus the $10,000 she wanted. That meant I could have bought this property if I had $10,000 cash, and I could negotiate a deal with the lien holders. I could buy the property for about $40,000 just the way it sits. You follow me? So what I did, instead of trying to discount the liens, I called up the lien holders and I said, this property is going to be going to sale. But if you're willing to leave your lien on there interest-free for 2 years, I'll make sure you get paid. I did that with the second, and I did that with what was the third at the time. They both agreed to do that. I talked to Great Western Bank and found out it was going to cost me about $2,500 to bring that loan current. I went to a guy that done some real estate deals with me, and I said, hey, I've got this property. It's worth about $75,000. I'd like you to put a third mortgage on it. I'll pay you 15% interest. 15% pretty good interest? If he goes in third position on this deal, the total loan to value is about $45,000. The property's worth $75,000. Is he in a pretty safe position? Yeah. Does everybody agree with me? If I don't pay him, what can he do? He can foreclose on me. So he's getting 15% interest. If I don't pay him, he can foreclose on me and take that property back. Right? So he agrees to loan me the $25,500. Right there. So when I close escrow, I've got to give the seller $10,000, right? What happens to the other $15,500? Well, I've got to pay the closing costs, which came to about $972, and I walked away from escrow with a check for $14,518. I still own the property with about $20,000 equity in it. Was that a good deal? Yeah. That's what's called hitting a home run. I walked away. You see, what did I know? How did I put this deal together? All I had was the knowledge. Anybody in this room could put that real estate deal together if you had the knowledge. Now, you aren't going to run across these every single day of the week. But what I want you to do, if you're working with me, is be in a position where you've got that first deal under your belt. You've got that second deal under your belt. So when these kinds of deals come along, you recognize them, you don't procrastinate, you jump on the deal, and you're the one that goes out and makes the money. Does that make sense? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. You know what I'll do with this? If you didn't understand the numbers, when we're done here today, because it's just an example of a deal. When we're done here today, if you want to take a look at this, or if you want me to walk you through it individually, I'd be happy to do that. Is that all right? Okay. Now, I wanted to give you a good picture about how to put these deals together, about giving you an overview about how to put them together. But the big question that I had at the beginning here was how many of you are going to be using other people's money? And I think the majority of people in this room raised their hand. So one of the most important things that you're going to need to do that I've learned is if you're using other people's money is you're going to have a professional presentation. Now, if I walk up to Frank, I've got a deal packaged up, and I walk up to Frank here, and I say, hey, Frank, I got this great deal here. It's $150,000, and I need 30 grand to put it together. Here, you want to do the deal? It's not too professional, is it? But you know, a lot of us go out and try to do deals like this. Or you take the newspaper ad and glue it to the paper. You know, maybe type up below it. But what if I went out like this? And I walked up to Ken and Rosalie here, and I said, you know, I've got this real estate opportunity. This was my company, the San Diego Affordable Housing Coalition. I think Dante talked a little bit about that last week. And this was the business proposal that I had for that. I've got a business proposition here for you, and here's my prospectus. I've got a table of contents in here. I've got my proposal. I've got the concept about what it is that I'm doing. I'd talk about the foreclosure opportunities here in Los Angeles. Would that be good information to give your investor? Because we want them to know you know what you're doing, right? I've got the business partnership concept. Remember we talked about partnerships that pay you $3,000 every deal you do, plus you retain 50% of the interest in it. But you have to package that up, don't you? You have to have that professionally presented. Benefits. Who benefits from this deal? Who are your buyers? Now, Julian, if you're an investor, do you want to know, if you're going to put up $50,000 in a real estate deal with me, wouldn't you like to know how we're going to get out of the deal? Sure you would. That's important, isn't it? You see, what I learned, folks, is that you've got to answer all those questions in advance. If you want to be successful, you want to have one step ahead of everybody else that's out there. Now, when I put this together, I didn't know how to do it. I spent thousands of dollars having a consultant put my original business plan together for me. But what I've done is I've just cookie cut it. I've taken the same original one that was prepared for me, and each time I change a few things around. It's evolved over the years, but I've literally raised millions of dollars off of this portfolio. Millions of dollars off of this portfolio. The only thing I change now, there's 3 pages right in the middle. Those 3 pages are my project analysis, because each project's a little different, isn't it? So I changed my project analysis. I changed my partnership agreement, because I've got to put a different address in there. And the partner might be different each time. But do you think when I send this proposal out, see, I've got a Rolodex now of those people that called me on my phone ads. And whenever I have a new property that comes together, I just shoot out my proposal to each one of them. You think my phone rings? Because I've got a professional presentation. Now, I don't work with everybody anymore. I shouldn't say that, because I don't send it out to everybody like I used to. What will happen is when you start working, I want you to understand this. When you start working with investors, what I've experienced is that if I've got 50 people that call me, there might only be 1 or 2 that I really work with. Because maybe they don't click with me, or maybe I don't click with them, or maybe I don't need to. One guy that I worked with in San Diego that responded to one of my ads, he had $1.3 million in his pension plan that he invested. He was the director. He directed his pension plan. And so if he got $1.3 million in a pension plan, do I need a whole lot of investors if I'm doing these little deals? See, I like to do a lot of little deals. I like to do a lot of little deals, make $5, $10, $15, $20,000, and just keep doing them over and over and over again. Now, when you're working with these investors, you're going to want to do your projections. Do it professionally. This is a property that I bought in San Diego. The purchase price was $168,500. There was 2 houses on one lot with this property. And I was going to split it up. You ever seen anything like that? You ever seen 2 houses on one lot? Well, what I was doing was subdividing this, because what was it going to do? Increase the value. It's going to make more money. So what I do when I'm doing my projections is I want to be real clear. And for those of you that can't see in the back, that's okay. I'll go over this with you in the back when we're done if you need to. But I want to include everything in my projections. See, I'd rather over-project than under-project. I'd rather say, hey, I need $60,000 and only use 55 than say I need 50 and end up needing 55. Does that make sense? Because what happens if I need 55 and I only ask for 50? I'm going to lose credibility, aren't I? So you want to make sure that you include everything. This one's a down payment, closing costs, renovations, $12,000. My lot split was going to cost me $4,000. I had to add a water meter, which was $3,000. Now this one, acquisition and management, to Craig Meyer, $3,000. Build it right in my projections. The total cash required, $52,650. The net profit, $48,150. That leaves a net profit to John and Karen Rust of $24,075. And to who? Craig Meyer, or you if you were doing this deal. $24,075. Now, how much money did I make on that deal? Well, in this example here, yeah, I make a $3,000 acquisition fee the day that I close escrow, because I need cash flow, right? I make $3,000 the day I close, and I retain 50% ownership in the property, and when we sell it, I get another $24,075. Does that make sense? If I didn't ask for that $3,000, would I have gotten it? But if they have to put up $52,000 to get their $52,000 back, plus an additional $24,000, do you think that's a little bit better than what they're earning in the bank right now? Sure it is. So it makes a lot of sense to an investor, and it makes a lot of sense to me. But I can guarantee you, if I came to Jerry, and Jerry and I put a deal together, and I came to him a week later and I said, hey, Jerry, you know what? I normally charge $3,000 as a little acquisition fee. You think you'd write me a check? I don't think you'd want to write it to me a couple weeks later. So you've got to include that. So when you're working with your partnership agreements, this is an example of mine. These are actual papers that I used. John and Karen Rust agree to fund the expenses associated with this project. Said expenses not to exceed $52,600. These expenses will include the down payment and closing costs, estimated at $24,500, which will be delivered to First American Title Company on or before January 17, 1993. John and Karen Rust agree to reserve $26,150. Now, if I'd never done a deal here with Chuck, is Chuck going to want to write me a check for $52,650? Probably not. What am I trying to do with my investor? So I'm giving you some negotiation things here as well. What am I trying to do with my investor? I want to make him feel at ease. I want to make him feel comfortable with what he's doing. I don't need to have that money in my bank account. All I want him to do is put it in reserves and hold it for me. So does he feel a little better about that? If I say, here's what I want you to do. If you could bring that check down to First American Title Company, they'll make sure everything's handled, in the proper ways. And if you could just reserve that money and release it as it's needed, I think we'd both feel more comfortable, Chuck. And Chuck would say, well, yeah, God, that's a great idea. Because he might want to ask that, but maybe he won't. But if I bring it up and I address it up front, they feel a lot more comfortable with me. These are little things that I've learned, folks, over the last few years that are just going to help you build that financial foundation. Because remember those phone calls we got? What if each one of those people has an average of $50,000 and there was 40 of them? That's a couple $1 million in investment capital. Now you can't run out and write checks on it, but you see where you can go with this? Do you feel a little more confident when you've got 20 or 30 or 40 people that have cash that are looking for deals, that called you? Is it conceivable when you're working in foreclosures that if you send a letter out to somebody, you might not get a response? Maybe the house is vacant. Is that conceivable? What happens if you send your letter back, you send your letter out and it comes back to you not deliverable as addressed, you drive by the house and the house is vacant? Because it could have been abandoned, right? People don't understand what we're talking about here today. Sometimes their properties become over-encumbered. They owe more on it than it's worth, and they just leave. That was the case right here. This was in San Diego. There was a mortgage going to sale from San Diego Federal Savings and Loan for $33,600. There was a second on the property for $40,500. There was about $74,000 owed on this property. The property was worth about $75,000. Not a lot of equity in it, is there? The first is foreclosing. What's going to happen to the second if it forecloses? I'm going to wipe them out. So who would I call? Call the second. I called up these guys at H&H Properties who held the second, and I said, hi, I'm calling about the property over on Gregory Street. And he says, oh, yeah. And I said, you guys have a second on it, and the first is foreclosing. And he says, that's right. I said, what I'd like to do is make you an offer on that second mortgage. He says, you would? And I said, yeah. He goes, how much were you thinking? I said, well, I'll give you $5,000 for it. He goes, $5,000? Are you serious? That's a $40,000 loan. And I said, well, the property's going to foreclosure, though. He goes, well, we're going to bring it current. They have an option to bring that loan current. So I watched the sale date on it. And when the sale date came up and the lender postponed it. Remember I talked about that? The lender postponed it for 30 days. They did that twice. But I kept tracking it. When I knew the sale date was coming up, find out if it was going to take place. Then I found out it got postponed, and I kept following it. Each time, I'd have my partner cut a check for the maximum amount that we were willing to bid, which was $42,000 on this property. Each time I'd get a cashier's check, if the sale was going to take place, he'd give me a check because I was going to go down and bid on it. The guy at H&H Properties told me he was going to call me back after he talked to his partner. He never called me back. Finally, the third time the sale had postponed, I ended up buying the property at the sale for $36,911. You follow me? How much did H&H Properties get the second? They didn't get one dime. The difference between that $33,600 and $36,911 was foreclosure fees and late payments. H&H Properties didn't get one time. Would they have been better off taking the $5,000?
Why did that bring it current?
I don't know why they didn't. I don't know why some people don't do things. I should have called them up and asked them, hey, I just bought that property. Remember that $5,000? you didn't get it. But I didn't. I don't know why a lot of these properties go into foreclosure sometimes. Most of them are some sort of hardship on the person that's in it. But a lot of times properties go to foreclosure, and I have no idea why or why people let them go. But I know I'd much rather be in a position to help somebody than not. What I did with this property is I sold it. Now, when I market properties, I usually go around in the neighborhood to see if anybody wants to buy it, because I'm willing to sell it at a discount if I can sell it quick. You know, I'll sell it below market value. So I went to the actual next door neighbors bought this house. The next day we went into contract on it. I sold it to them. My net check out of it was $56,894. And the net check was, we had to pay off the original cost, so we ended up making about $20,000 on this property. $20,000 profit. I had to split it though. So I made about 10,000 bucks on this deal. What did I do though? I had a system. I had a system set up, I had support, and I went through it step by step by step. And I knew what I had, the knowledge. That's all I had. The only difference between me and everyone else in this room is I knew how to put that deal together. And a lot of you are starting to understand how also. You see, I didn't put up one dime of my own money on that. And I made $10,000. Because I knew how to do something the guy with the money didn't know how to do. And everybody hears about foreclosures. Everybody hears you can make a lot of money in foreclosures. They just don't know how to do it. So wouldn't you like to have the cutting edge strategies? Wouldn't you like to know the best ways to do it instead of just talking about it? And that's what I'm showing you here today. I was working with a guy named Kip Mahan in Colorado. I started this pilot program at the beginning of the year. And the reason that I started it was to really take people by the hands, because I've only been in Dante's organization since September of last year. I've been an associate just like everyone in this room. I've been out doing real estate deals. And one of the things that I realized is I had been through every training that you can think of. And my head would get so full of information when I got home that I'd go, now what was he saying about that? You know, or, yeah, he's doing that now, Chuck? You know, now what was that strategy that we're talking about? And, you know, now I remember he said something about sending the letter, but, oh, was I supposed to be a shark? You know? So one of the things that I realized is that you need some support and you need some guidance. So I put together what's called a 12-week follow-up, and I go ahead and include that with people that want to work with me on it, on the foreclosure strategies. Kip Mahan was the guy that did that. He says, I've been working in the pre-foreclosure area using a direct mail campaign for the 3 counties closest to where we live in Littleton, Colorado. He's working 3 counties. We mail out letters every 6 to 8 weeks. We mail out letters every week to people that are in foreclosure. Sometimes 6 to 8 weeks into our new venture, I received a letter from Craig Meyer. I had met and heard Craig talk at the Wealth Weekend in Manhattan Beach. So I called him, and the rest is history, as they say. I joined Craig's 12-week follow-up program where he acts as our mentor, and the goal is to get into and through our first deal with $5,000. Now, Kip had tried a lot of other things, but didn't feel like he had the support that he needed. That's why we put this program together. We had received maybe 9 calls from our letters. When the call came in, that was to be our first deal. After working with the people, I got the house for $200. Now, there was a mortgage on it, too, and I'll tell you about that in just a second, which I paid to them after they cleaned it and moved out for me. See, Kip's big thing was he wanted to do partnerships. But did he have to do a partnership when he only needed $200? No. How many people can come up with $200 to get control over a real estate deal? Now, he didn't retire off of this deal, but it was more important for him to get that first deal under his belt. So what Kip did was he got control over this property, he got it deeded over to him, and the next thing that he had to do was sell it. He didn't know what to do. He says, Craig, now I got this property, I need to sell it. I said, okay. He said, do you have any real estate agents in your community? And he said, yeah, there's a lot of them. I said, you got like RE/MAX and Century 20. We have all those here. RE/MAX, Century 21, Better Homes. He says, yeah, we've got all those real estate people here. I said, why don't you put a flyer together? Now, how much do real estate agents make here in Los Angeles? 6%. 3% for the buyer side, 3% for the seller side. Is that right? Okay, so if I listed a house, I'm going to get paid 3% on it. Or if I bring you a buyer, you're going to pay me 3% on it. So what I told Kip, I said, Kip, why don't we build in a little incentive for the real estate agents? Would you be willing to pay them 4% for a buyer? He said, yeah. If I could sell it right away, I would. So we put together this flyer for him. Kip didn't have a computer, so I put this flyer together for him. It says, available immediately, 4-bedroom, 2-bath home. It's nothing fancy, but it just helped him, you know. And so what he did was he made like 200 copies of this. And he went into each one of these real estate offices by where this house was at. He walked in and he asked the secretary at the front desk, he said, would you mind if I put this flyer into each one of the real estate agents' mailboxes? And he had a red pen, and he wrote 4% to buyer's broker on each flyer. Now, if a real estate agent is selling a house in that neighborhood, and they're going to get paid 3% on one on this block, or 4% for one on this block, which one do you think they're going to show first? Well, I'm not saying real estate agents are greedy.
They're smart.
Smart. There's a good one, Ron. Kip Mahan sold the house. It took him about 6 to 8 weeks to get it closed, and he made about $7,800 off of it. Not a lot of money. But you know what Kip did? He got his first real estate deal under his belt. And now he's done his second. That was starting in January. And he's done 2 deals. Kip Mahan works 60 hours a week at his job. And he's knocked down 2 real estate deals now. Things are changing for him. When I started out, folks, the only newspaper article I ever thought they were going to write about me was going to be my obituary. Now, you heard my story. In the Contra Costa Times, which is up in Northern California in Contra Costa County, they wrote this newspaper article. It says, in late 1987, Meyer was almost broke and sleeping in his brother's garage when he wasn't bar hopping along Locust Street in downtown Walnut Creek. No Walnut Creek, right? Yeah. His Equity Financial Group rehabilitates distressed properties with rehabilitated construction workers. See, what I decided to do was I wanted to give back. I want to feel good about what I'm doing. So I know that a lot of people that have similar problems to what I had and have with alcohol have a tough time out in the construction industry. And so what I decided to do was start a clean and sober construction company. So what we would do is we'd go into these rehab programs where a guy was getting out. He'd been in rehab for 60 or 90 days, and he didn't want to go back to his old job because he was scared of peer pressure. And he didn't want to, that wasn't the best place for him to be. And so we started a construction company that rehabilitated houses with rehabilitated construction workers. And they did an article about us on it. You know, and it's incredibly fulfilling. You know, the article goes on to say, my investors are receiving a 25 to 100% return on their investments. Lerman Mortgage. See, one of my investors that called on my ads happened to be a mortgage company. Lerman Mortgage, a Concord-based mortgage broker, has helped bankroll 17 of Meyer's projects. They're pleased with both the financial and social dividends. Craig has a knack for buying properties at the right time, said Paul Levine, an associate broker with Lerman Mortgage. See, I don't have a knack, folks. I don't have a knack for buying properties at the right time. All I do is I know which rocks to turn over. I know how to find the deals. The deals are in that daily commerce. That's where the deals are. But you've got to know how to put them together. You've got to know how to structure them. You've got to know one more thing that I don't know in order to get that deal. And that's what we show you how to do. His construction business has accumulated a $3 million stake in real estate scattered around east and central Contra Costa County. The firm is prosperous enough now to allow Meyer to set up a profit-sharing plan. See, I started sharing the wealth. People like to work with me. You know, we started sharing what we were making. I didn't need to make it all, but I love what I'm doing. See, I love what I'm doing right now. I get to share what I've learned with everybody else. And what I was doing is there was an abundance of foreclosures. So what I did was I'd buy the foreclosure properties, and then to resell them, there was low interest and government loan programs for low-income families. Have you heard of those? There's tons of them in California, folks. There's CHAFA, there's county programs, there's city programs. There's programs where they can get in with no money down. So what I'd do is I'd take these houses and I'd rehabilitate them, and I'd sell them back to families that never thought they were going to be able to own homes. You guys are close. It says an entrepreneur builds his goal on making housing dreams come true. Do you think if you make $8.50 an hour living in San Diego, you're ever going to own a home? No way. Jorge Gallona bought a home. Guy right down here at the bottom. He makes $8.50 an hour. He lived in a trailer with his wife and 3 kids. Lived in a trailer. He drove a beer delivery truck making $8.50 an hour. We put Jorge together with a bunch of different government subsidies and little low-interest loan programs. He ended up buying a completely renovated 3-bedroom house, his total monthly payment is $468 a month. 3-bedroom house in San Diego. He pays $468 a month. What do you think of that? Well, I can't get that loan. I can't get that loan. But you see, what I was trying to do is I'm looking at a vent. I've got investors investing in these projects with me. They loved it when I had all these buyers lined up. And do I feel good about what I'm doing? I love it. Jorge Gaona had a problem. I drove by his house. This was about 9 months ago. Well, maybe a little longer than that now. Probably a year ago. And I drove by Jorge's house. He'd lived there for about 4 months. And he doesn't speak much English, and I don't speak any Spanish. And he came running out. I drive a Lincoln. And he comes running out and sees me in the neighborhood. Mr. Craig, Mr. Craig. And I stop and I say, what's going on, Jorge? He goes, my house, they're going to take my house. And I go, what? He goes, the papers. So I park my car. I go up and he brings out these papers. What was happening was the school district had decided to do an eminent domain. Anybody ever heard of that? An eminent domain, and they were going to take this 2-square block area where Jorge's house was. Okay? So he showed me the papers, and I'm reading through it. He bought the house for $82,000. He had an offer from the school district for $105,000. He'd had it for about 4 months. I said, Jorge, what are you going to do? And he goes, oh, I want to get a duplex, Mr. Craig. With the he wants to live in one side and rent out the other side, and Jorge Gaona did that. He now has a duplex. Is his life better?
Yes.
Sure it is.
And your life is better.
And my life is better. And my wife is better too. Is that what you said? No. She likes to make money too. But the point is it's not just you that you're going to affect here, folks. You know, I mean, I really love what I do. I love the money. I mean, I love to make a lot of money, but I really enjoy what I do. I like to help people out. I like to see the smiles on their face, and I like to see people better their lives at the same time. Can we get the lights, Paul? Do we have the ability to do that? I'm going to show you a couple of slides here real quick. Do the lights go down? See, there's a couple of people I want to acknowledge on these. Does that go down?
Shut your overhead off too.
Yeah. Good idea. See, I've worked with a lot of people since the beginning of the year, putting this program together, and it's been an exciting. Is that projector on back there?
Oh, hold on.
Pretty organized here. See, I've worked with a lot of people since the beginning of the year, getting these, helping them get into and through their first real estate deal, and everybody comes from different backgrounds. You know, none of us are the same. Is the slide projector on, Dwight? Am I moving it? Am I going the right way? Okay, let's go the other way then. And everybody's. Did we get it? There we are. Do we got that? Can you see that? Okay. This is Iris and Doris Solis here. And Iris and Doris Solis own a hardware store. They've been doing pretty good. And they own a hardware store, but they couldn't get away from it. They wanted to leave it to their son, but they wanted to have another stream of income, and they didn't want to be married to their jobs. And so what they decided to do was get into the foreclosure business. But they didn't do it without putting me through the ringer. Because what had happened with Iris and Doris was they had bought a foreclosure property about 10 years ago. And they had this guy that said, well, I'll give you my house, I'll give you the deed to it, and all I want is your truck, and I need $1,000 to get on the road. So he gave them the deed. They signed the pink slip to the truck. They gave him $1,000. He took off. Next weekend, they were in there working on the house. And this guy drove up, and he said, hey, what are you guys doing? I said, oh, we just bought this house. We're working on it. And he says, well, I'm from Bank of so-and-so, and we foreclosed on this house last week. So they'd been a little soured on the foreclosure experience. But they didn't know how to pull up a property profile. They didn't know that every real estate deal you do, you should get title insurance on to make sure that it's free and clear of liens and encumbrances. And so once we sat down and we started talking, it took about 10 minutes. Once they understood that there is a progression and some steps that you need to take in order to be successful, they decided to get involved in foreclosures again. Right now in Sonoma, California, or Sonora, California, they have a house on the market for $220,000. Their total investment, not cash, but their total mortgages and investment in the property is about $130,000. How much equity do they have in that property? About $90,000. How did they buy it? Using the strategies that I'm sharing with you here today. This guy right here, his name is Norm Booker. Norm Booker is a guy that wanted to get involved in real estate and had been involved in real estate for a lot of years. A couple of years ago, or about a year ago, Norm had a bout with cancer. And what he decided, see, he'd grown up, Norm went to engineering school in college. And so he lived a pretty good life. But when he grew up, he didn't have a lot of money. And when he had this bout with cancer, a lot of his real estate was income-producing real estate. And he realized that if he died, which was a sad thing to look at, but he realized that if he died, that his wife was going to have a real tough time with it because she didn't understand the real estate business. So what Norm decided to do was pick up a strategy that he could pay cash for his real estate and own it free and clear. But he wanted to buy that real estate with a lot of built-in equity. So what's the best way to do that? Foreclosures. So he started picking up foreclosures. Norm Booker now owns free and clear real estate. He's doing fine, he's in remission and everything's going well, but he owns a lot of free and clear real estate. His kids go to school, one goes to UCLA and the other one goes to University of Hawaii. Is he providing a good life for his family? Does he feel good about what he's doing? Sure he does. This guy here is Howdy Atkinson. One of my favorite stories. Howdy just got involved with me about, it hasn't even been 3 months yet. And Howdy's dream, he was a truck driver, and his dream was to own a horse farm. Still his dream. And he wanted to own a big horse farm where he could raise some horses. He lives in San Diego. And he started looking out in Escondido. You know where Escondido is? You know, that's kind of a rural area out there. And they have some bigger parcels. And anyway, he found a 4-acre parcel that had a barn on it and a house that was in foreclosure. He bought it the day before the foreclosure sale. Had a swimming pool too. He calls it a cement pond. He got it the day before foreclosure. His total out-of-pocket expense was $3,000. Total out-of-pocket. Property was worth about $85,000 or $90,000. He bought it for $50,000, but he only had to come up with $2,500. Now he owns the house. Does he feel good about what he's doing? Yep. The house next door, where a cement pond encroached on the house next door. You know what encroach is? It sort of went into their property boundaries. He offered to buy a strip of the guy's property. You follow me? Yeah, an easement. He offered to buy a strip of the property. The guy wouldn't sell it to him. So Howdy's a real inquisitive guy. He started researching the property. He found out it was in foreclosure. He bought the property for $35,000. He split the lot. He did what's called a lot line adjustment. He split the lot. He just sold the other 2-acre parcel for $80,000. It's the part that had the house on it. Made a $50,000 profit in Escondido. How did he do it? Knowledge is the key. The attainment of wealth has nothing to do with luck. Knowledge is the key, folks. All he did was know how to do it. He knew where to go. Go ahead and flip the lights back on. What kind of properties are you going to see when you get out there? A lot of people think that foreclosures are just dumps. They aren't. There's properties in every price range, in every neighborhood. Everybody gets affected, not everybody, but every type of person and every type of job is affected by foreclosures. So there isn't one particular property that you're going to see out there. It's not going to just be properties in the inner city neighborhoods. This was a house that was in Blackhawk, up in Northern California. It was a property that sold at one time for $1.2 million. It was sold at a foreclosure sale for $525,000. Do you have to buy a lot of those to make money? You just have to know how to put them together. What if you'd done 5 or 10 deals, you'd made yourself a nice little pocket full of money, and you wanted to buy a house like that and live in it? Could you do it? Wouldn't you feel proud driving home to a house like that you bought at a foreclosure sale, that you bought at 50 cents on the dollar? How many people would like to locate foreclosures in Los Angeles area for our organization? Raise your hands. That's too many. We have what's called the Hot Sheet Spy program. Our hot sheets. Now, you'll notice the areas that we're in with our hot sheets are going to be areas like Texas, Oklahoma. We were in Arizona for a while. But what happened to all those areas a few years back? What's that? They got hit pretty hard, didn't they? What's going on in Los Angeles and California right now? It's there now, isn't it? What happened with Los Angeles, or what happened with Texas and Oklahoma and some of those other areas that were hit real hard? What happened to Arizona and Colorado? They're all rebounding strong, aren't they? So we go into the areas when they're in the lull, and that's when we like to pick up properties. I think, and I believe, that there is more opportunity in Los Angeles right now, or in the Southern California market, than there is anywhere in the country. There are thousands and thousands of opportunities. Here's the kinds of properties we're looking for. We're looking for good neighborhoods. We're looking for high occupancy. If it's a multi-unit or an apartment building, we like it to have a high occupancy rate to it. We like them in good condition with very few repairs needed. We like them within a 1-hour drive of a major airport. And we're looking for pre-foreclosures and foreclosure properties. Now, as you can imagine, we have a lot of people that want to find properties for us, so we don't work with everybody. What I do is I work with people that know how to package the properties up. They'll do a professional presentation. All the numbers are outlined, and they know how to present it to us. Those are the only properties that we're really going to have time to look for. We're looking for deals. I will tell you this, if you find a property for us, we probably aren't going to give you the most money for it. We're going to be the kind of guy that buys out your contract, that sort of thing. But if you put a deal together, you want to submit it into our hot sheet department, we'd love to take a look at it. For those of you that are trying to get started that maybe have a little apprehension working with investors, it may be the best way for you to get that first deal under your belt. Just call us up and let us know. Say, hey, I got a deal, I want you to take a look at it. How much does it cost to start a business? How about a Burger King franchise? 50 grand? What if you were going to become an attorney and go through law school? How much would that cost? 60 to 100 grand? How much money would you make if you were just out of law school? 60, 70, 80,000? If you own a Burger King franchise, how much money do you make? If you could spend, let me ask you this question. How many people would spend $10,000 if you could be guaranteed to make $250,000 a year? Raise your hands. How many people would do that? Because sometimes that's what it takes. How many people in this room would spend $40 a month to get a $250,000 a year income? Raise your hands. Let me show you what you might do. I'm going to run through a project analysis real quick here. Let's say we've got a property and the value of that property is $150,000. You've used the strategies that I've shared with you here today, and you've got the purchase price locked up at $100,000. It's got a mortgage on it of $80,000. You need to have a down payment of how much? $20,000. You're going to have your acquisition fee to your managing partner of how much? 3 to 5. I like that. Why did I say $3,000? Nobody caught that today yet. I'm glad you said that. You know where the $3,000 came from? It sounded like a good number to me. That's where the $3,000 came from. $3,000 seemed like a good number to work with. I thought, well, if I can do 2 deals a month, that means I've got $72,000 a year cash flow, and plus my back-end equity. That's where I came up with that $3,000. You don't have to be stuck on that number. $3,000. Total cash required from the partner is how much? $23,000. Okay, now let's say that we've got this property, and the property has a house that's next door. It's $148,000. It's got another one 2 blocks away that was $153,000, and this was a $200,000 neighborhood a year ago. Would it be conceivable that we could sell it fairly quick if we discounted it another $10,000? We've got it at 150. We said, well, we want to sell it quick. You know, we know that it's a depressed market, so we're going to discount it down to $140,000 for a quick sale. Okay, now if I sell it for $140,000, what do I have to do? Who do I have to pay off? Come on, let's go here. first mortgage, how much? $80,000. Return partner's investment, how much is that? $23,000. You see, my partner didn't give me that $3,000. All he did was loan it to our partnership. First money in is the first money out. First money in is the first money out. How much net profit do I have in this deal? 37,000? How much for my partner? 18.5? How much for me? Or how much for you if this is your deal? 18.5. Okay, if I did this once a month for 12 months in a row, could you do this once a month? If you had a system down and you were mailing out 50 letters a week and you were contacting people directly out of this daily commerce, could you do this once a month? How many people could do this once a month? If you did this once a month, you'd have 1 times $3,000 in acquisition fees, which equals $36,000. 1 times 12 times each one. Did I mess you up there? 12 times 18.5 equals $222,000. Your total income for that year would be $258,000. What if you only did it half that? Can you do that? See, consistency and persistence is going to be the key. You're gaining the knowledge. You're starting to understand and see the picture here. It's simple if you know how to do it. It's simple if you know which rocks to turn over. Can anybody think of why they'd want to do more than one of these? Good. Now, Tony Martinez yesterday talked to you about dream destroyers, didn't he? Losers. I love it when he does that. You know, one of the biggest dream destroyers I had when I started out was my father. And my father and I have always had the kind of well, we didn't have much of a relationship. My parents were divorced when I was little, and I just didn't ever really get together with him that often. And I was always trying to win his respect, you know, whenever we would get together. Well, a few years back, we were at Thanksgiving, and my family still really doesn't know what I mean, they know I'm in real estate, but they don't know all the real estate deals that I've done, and you know, they know I have money now, but just haven't quite figured it out. And and so we're at Thanksgiving, and my dad's self-employed, and I always thought he was doing pretty good, you know. And we're sitting down there, and he was talking, and the things that we talk about are business. We don't talk about how we feel or what's going on or any of that stuff because we're men, you know, and that's not what we do. So, but we're sitting down there talking, and he's telling me, well, his business isn't doing as good as I thought it was. And I said, well, what's going on? He goes, well, I got behind in my payments and, you know, with a couple of loans I had, and I'm trying to expand, and I got turned down for the loan. I didn't get turned down once. I applied 3 different places and got turned down for 3 different loans. It was only $25,000. And I said, well, you know, the first thing I wanted to do was say, hey, I can give it to you. And I stood there and I said, you know what, Dad? I said, I've got some money. You know, I've been doing pretty good. And I said, I'd really like to help you out. Can I give you the $25,000? And my dad's a real proud guy. You know, and he said no. He really did. He said no. You know, I don't want to take money from you. So he called me up a couple of days later with a proposal. He said, why don't you invest in my company and become my partner? And so I had an opportunity to do that, and I did. Now, I don't care about owning a piece of paper that says I'm his partner or anything else, but can you imagine how I felt being able to do that? See, my life has changed. The financial freedom and the financial independence, all it is the vehicle, folks. I mean, I can stand up here and talk to you about strategy after strategy after strategy. If you don't pick it up and go out and do something with it, your life is not going to change. What I'm telling you right now works if you work it. My parents are divorced, but they still see each other, and they're civil and everything. And we did a seminar in San Jose in February. And I wanted my folks to go. And they decided that they would. And my dad has never been one that, comes up and hugs me or, says, hey, great job, kid, or anything like that. And our relationship's just different. And my dad went to this seminar, and he wrote me a letter after we were done. It says, Dear Craig, a short note to let you know how proud I am to have you for a son. Your mother is so elated with your life's turnaround that she can't contain herself, and she wears her happiness on her sleeve. Believe me when I tell you I am not without feeling with regard to your success. I am just less demonstrative, and it takes a little more time for me to put it into some sort of verbal embrace. I know that along with your ability and personal willpower to give up drinking, Linda is a big part of your success. Linda's my wife. And she and I work in the pre-foreclosure business together. She's a beautiful gal, and I know that the new baby is going to have a great life with you two as parents. All my love, Dad. That's what it's all about, folks. See, I love my life today. I have a passion for living. I love what I do. I love my family. I just had a little baby boy 6 weeks ago. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, pretty exciting. My wife felt pretty. How'd my wife feel about me having the baby? I'll tell you, I was in San Diego and she called me. We were getting ready to do a seminar in San Diego, and I got on a Southwest flight and flew up in time for her to have the baby. And so it was a miracle, folks. And my life is a miracle, and I believe that. I believe that what I'm doing today is a miracle. Thank you. The way I was living my life, I don't deserve to be here sometimes, But I've taken action, and I've worked it. And people have given me strategies and given me opportunities, and I've taken those opportunities, and I've seized the moment and made sure that I did not discount it, and I went out and made it happen. And you all have that same opportunity right now. Can you make $1 million on a real estate deal? Do you think you're going to make $1 million on your first deal? No. Probably not. If you had let me ask you this. If I gave you in downtown Los Angeles, if I said, here's an office complex that cost $80 million to build, and I'll give it to you for $40 million. Do you think you can make some money on it? Think you can make $1 million? What if I said, here's an $80 million office complex in downtown Los Angeles, and I'll give you this $80 million office complex for $8 million. How many people want it now? Say yes. Yes. I've got an $80 million office complex for $800,000. How many people want it now? Say yes. Look at this deal, folks. This was about 8 weeks ago. Wang Laboratories. Everybody heard of Wang? The computer people? What happened to them? They're gone. That's right. That's how those thumbs go down. A mysterious man bought Wang Laboratory Inc.'s $80 million office complex in Lowell, Massachusetts for a mere, how much does that say? $525,000. Bought it his name is Lou Pellegrin. He said, who's that mysterious man? The mysterious man's name is Lou Pellegrin. I wish it was me. I didn't see that deal. What do you think Lou Pellegrin's doing right now? Smiling. I'll bet he is. I've tried to contact Lou Pellegrin because I wanted to find out how he got that deal. I love to hear those stories. I can't find Lou Pellegrin. Yeah, he's probably on vacation. You think he can vacation anywhere he wants? Does he ever have to work again if he doesn't want to? 3 14-story office towers from Wang Laboratories for $525,000. Is he going to retire a millionaire? If he wants to. You want to know something, though? You want to know the neat thing about Lou Pellegrin? What kind of income you think he has coming in on that thing? I don't know. Could be all empty right now. What if he just wanted to sell his contract on that? What if he just wanted to sell out for a quick $5 million? You think he'd have any buyers? Sure he would. Now, I'm not here to tell you that you guys are all going to run out tomorrow and find deals like Lou Pellegrin found. But do you think that was Lou Pellegrin's first deal? No, it wasn't. I'm sure it wasn't. I haven't talked to him yet, but I would make a bet that Lou Pellegrin had done a few smaller deals before he found that one. Now, what I've been talking to you about today is working in the foreclosure and the pre-foreclosure market. And I mentioned earlier that we have an extended training program, and that's with Ted Thomas. We have that in Reno, Nevada, and I'd like to share with you a little bit about how that works. What we call it is our Wealth Building Summit. And for those of you that have decided, yes, Craig, I want to work on this team with you, and I want to go out there and start doing deals like this, you're going to want to come into the Wealth Building Summit. Because when you have an opportunity to be trained by a man like Ted Thomas, you don't want to give it up. Now what we do is you come into Reno, and the airfare from Reno, by the way, from Los Angeles to Reno, we got 2-for-1s coming down here. Anybody heard of those? Yeah. Get them on Southwest Airlines.
Friends fly free.
Yeah, Friends Fly Free. It costs you about $100 for 2 people to go round trip. So the airfare isn't expensive at all. Now Dante hosts a networking party. You come in on Friday night. What we do on days 2 and 3, which is Saturday and Sunday, is we have an interactive training program. And this is where Ted Thomas, it's not me or Ted Thomas standing up here telling you how to do this. It might be Carol and Anthony and Jerry in one group. And then it'll be Rosalie and Frank and Jim in another group. And these groups are limited to 50 people. And what we'll do is we have interactive purchasing and interactive negotiations and interactive lien negotiations. So let's say that this team is the bank and this team over here is the buyer. They come in and they negotiate a price with the bank. After you've learned the strategies, you sit down at a negotiation table and you negotiate your deal. Or maybe it's buying the house. Or maybe it's working with the investor so that you get the best deal for both of you. But it wouldn't it be, if you were going to make, let me plant this seed. If you were going to make a $5,000 mistake using these strategies, wouldn't it be better to do it in a classroom environment than it would be when you're out there in the real world? Well, I think that answer is obvious. You're going to get a 450-page manual. Now, this is copywritten by Ted Thomas. And there's 10 sections in here, and Ted goes through them all. Finding the defaulting homeowners. And it's a lot of questions and answers. It's interactive. You aren't under a time frame. We do this for 2 days. The second section, profitable neighborhoods that'll work. You're going to make a decision on what neighborhoods you're going to work in. Marketing. You've got to be able to be a marketer, don't you? Because when you're sending out that direct mail, don't you want people to call on your letters? Well, we've sent them out. We know which letters work, and so will you. Financial data, how to research the companies, title and escrow, doing your due diligence, negotiating with seconds, thirds, and lien holders. This is the Bible. This has all the forms and contracts that you need when you're out there buying pre-foreclosures. You're going to get 2 other books. The first one is Where the Money Is and How to Get It. This is also written by Ted Thomas. And it's important. He goes through this. He teaches you different strategies, some of them that I've shared with you here today. Ted Thomas has the secrets to your success. In my opinion, this is the most powerful strategy that anyone can use that is working with limited capital that wants to get started in their own local area. See, I started out there. I know what it takes, and I know the strategies that work. You're also going to get Ted Thomas's negotiations book, Negotiations That Will Work. And he takes you through negotiations step by step. We're going to go through case studies, copies of the written forms and contracts that you need, secret strategies that give you the cutting edge. We have a letter writing clinic. The letter writing clinic is you write your own letter and you take the components of the stuff that's worked for us, but you put your own story in there. So when you're sending your letters out, it's about you. It's about what you're doing. You know, and we know what works. Fast Start to Success. Ted Thomas has a 21-day program where he wants to put you on a fast start to make $5,000 in those 21 days. That's a little more time-intensive program. So if what I do is I take people by the hand in our 12-week follow-up, and we're going to lay it out for you step by step what to do. So when you get home, you have some focus. Win-win with homeowners and lien holders. Negotiation secrets for big profits. Where the money is, how to get it. And then the last thing is the toll-free hotline. Now, a lot of you have that with our office now. Everybody in here has that with our office now. What I've done, though, is I've set up a team. I talked to you about focusing. The pre-foreclosure strategy, the only way that we teach that is the people that work with Ted Thomas. The pre-foreclosure strategy is a focused strategy for those of you that just want to do one thing. That's all you say, Craig, this is what I want to do. I know there's thousands of foreclosures in Los Angeles, and I want to work with you on these strategies. You'll have a special toll-free number to call our pre-foreclosure hotline, and those are the people that we work with, and those are the only strategies that we work with. Now, how do you participate in this? You're going to come to our corporate headquarters in Reno, Nevada. And when you come into Reno, Nevada, everybody in here, we have an open-door policy. I think Gus mentioned that earlier. We encourage you to come down to our office, meet some of the people that you'll be talking with on the phone, and really make a trip out of it and get everything that you can. Our office is a powerful place. If you come in there, people are buzzing around. It's a powerful place to be, and a lot of good stuff going on there. We're going to put you up at the Flamingo Hilton Hotel in Reno, Nevada. Anybody been to Reno? You know the Flamingo Hilton? It's a real nice place to stay. It's downtown, and you have a lot of fun while you're there as well. We're going to, too much fun? Stay off those machines. We're going to provide catered meals. Now, Ted Thomas, up in San Francisco, he does a program similar to this. He charges $6,500 for it. Now, $6,500 is a lot of money to spend. It's not a lot of money to spend if you go out and knock your deal down. But it's a lot of money to spend if you're just getting started. Some of you have some apprehension. Some of you are thinking, well, will this work for me? The answer is yes, it will. But Dante decided to reduce the cost, and he's put a deal together with Ted Thomas to bring him in for these weekends. And the total cost is only going to be $1,997. Now, what we do, folks, is I talked with Dante and I talked with Ted because it's important for me to make sure that everybody that participates with me on this strategy is successful. If you're going to participate in this program and you're putting your faith up in us, I want each and every one of you to be successful. So what we've done is some of you may have some apprehension. Some of you are thinking about this right now. Should I do this? The answer is yes. So what we're going to do is offer you a guarantee. And our guarantee is simple. You come up there for Friday night. You sit through the first day, which is Saturday. You sit through that session all day long with Ted Thomas, giving you that education. And if you're dissatisfied for any reason at all during that first day, you simply let us know at the end of the day, and we'll refund your money 100%. Is that fair? Come on, is that fair? Is that a fair guarantee? We'll refund it 100%. That gives you an opportunity to check it out. If you decide it didn't work for you, just let me know. Now, what I'm going to do today, for those of you that make a reservation with me today, I'm going to send you home with Ted Thomas's book called Foreclosure Gold Mining. Okay? Because you're sitting here right now and you're thinking, well, you know what? It sounds like it's a really good deal. It sounds like something that I'd like to do. But you know what? I think I'd like to check it out a little bit more. That's fine. What I want you to do is to take this book home. I'm going to give you what's called the Wealth Building Summit package. I want you to take these things home. All I'm asking you to do today is to make a reservation. Take these things home. If you have additional questions of me next week, call me in the office and let's talk about them. If you decide it's not for you, just let me know. Hang on, I'll be with you in 1 minute, fellas. What's that? I'm going to get to the dates right just in 1 second. Now, the 12-week Jumpstart plan, this is what I'm going to put in as a bonus because I think it's important that you have somebody to guide you through your deals. I think it's important that you have somebody to carry you through that first deal. Does everybody agree with that? Because if I've given you a lot of information today, and your head's spinning a little bit, is it going to be easy for you to go out and do that first deal right now? Some of you may be able to, but it's going to be a lot easier if you've got somebody like me walking you through it step by step. So what I've done is I put together this 12-week plan, and this is just a sample. Week 1, we might have you starting your business by getting your business card set up. Even if you're working at it part-time, I want you to be professional. Week number 2, I want to have you sending out your direct mail, sending out your letters to people that are in foreclosure. Week number 3, making offers and packaging deals. Week number 4, presenting deals for funding. Week number 5, opening escrows for accepted offers. Week number 6, start over for deal number 2. Week 10, close deal number 1, put cash in your pocket. Week 12, close deal number 2 and reinvest the profit. See, that's just an example, or that's a sample of a format that we're going to follow. We're going to ask you to send in, I want you to send in each week what your progress is, or lack thereof. See, one of the things I've noticed when working with First Hybrid Corporation is that there's a lot of support there if I ask for it. But there's not somebody there that calls me up every day and says, hey, Craig, it's time to get out of bed and go make those offers. That's not going to happen. You see, I'll tell you where this 12-week success plan came from. If I'm going to if I'm going to, let's say it's Monday morning, and I say, okay, I'm going to make $5,000 this week doing a real estate deal. And all of a sudden, I come into work, and Al here calls me up, and next day, Jerry's on the phone with me, and I'm working with people on the phone. All of a sudden, my $5,000 goal might not be priority anymore, right? Because all of a sudden, other things are coming up, and I'm not really focused on what my goal is. But if I write down, okay, I'm going to make $5,000 and do a real estate deal this week. And I walk in the office, and I go into Dante Perano's office, and I march down the hall, and I say, Dante, I'm going to do a real estate deal this week, and I'm going to make $5,000. And I'm going to check in with you on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and by Friday, I'm going to knock that deal down. Do you think I have a little higher chance of success? Sure I do. So that's what I've done, is I've set up this 12-week follow-up program so that you report to me. You call me on the phone. You write it out each week and send it to me. Let me know where you're at. And if you want to be successful, that's the best way I know how to do it. Knowledge is the key, but we've got to keep you taking action. Now, is it going to be important for you to have that investment portfolio if you want to raise capital? What I'm going to do is I'm going to give each one of you that participate in this program and join my team, you're going to get a personalized copy of the investment portfolio. You don't have it yet, Ron, because it's going to have, it might be, Ron, do you have a business name?
I'm going to.
Okay, let's say it was Ron Investment Company. In this investment portfolio, it'll say Ron Investment Company in 34 different places. So when he presents it to his investor, Ron Investment Company keeps coming up over and over again. Now, how many of you have computers? A lot of you have computers. What I've done is I've taken that investment portfolio and I've formatted it on IBM and Macintosh formats. And there's different word processing variations that it's on. And I'll let you know about, I'll give you a copy. They're all on the same disk.
You've got the boilerplate.
What's that?
You've got the boilerplate.
I've got the boilerplate, and I'm going to go ahead and give you a copy of that. Now, that's important to get because you might want to change your properties around. You know, you might want to just change your project analysis around. But it's real easy to get. Those of you that don't have computers, I'm going to give you one anyway. Who's heard of Kinko's print shops? Yeah. They have computers in there that you can rent for $10 an hour. So all you do is go in and plug your computer disk in, and you customize it to fit your needs. So I'm going to give you that. Now, the other thing that we're going to give you is this is a stepping stone for those of you that want to go on the real estate buying tour. You know, that's an excellent opportunity down there, but a lot of you just can't, you want to get started. You need to get that first deal under your belt, and you want to raise some investment capital. Because when you go down to Midland, Texas, you want to have at least $7,000 to $10,000 liquid to buy properties, right? 70 would be better, wouldn't it? So one of the things that we're doing here is using this to build your foundation. Using this so that you build up and you knock down a couple deals, you make $15,000, $20,000, then we put you on the tour, and now you've got some investment capital to spend. What about all those investors that you're working with? Could you make that offer to them? Hey, I'm going to Midland, Texas next month. Would you like me to look at some properties for you? Then you can do your presentation to them as well. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you a double your money rebate. See, Dante Perano rewards those people that take action. He wants people to be successful. So what we're going to do is this is going to be good for an entire year. Your rebate, or your tuition of $1,997, I'm going to give you a rebate certificate for $4,000 towards the purchase of your first hot sheet property. So when you buy your first hot sheet property, you're going to get your entire tuition back twice. Now, if you're a person that's going with a partner, a business partner, or a spouse, the second person is going to go for half price. Now let me show you the dates. June 17th, 18th, and 19th, which is next weekend. We're on a very short fuse. I know you can still get good airfare with Southwest Airlines. Can you see that? Is that better? June 17th, 18th, and 19th. You can get in next weekend. You're going to be on a short fuse. If you're a person... They're running back there. If you're a person that can get out of town next weekend, it's important that you get started as soon as possible. I work with a limited amount of people from each group. On the June seminar, I've got 7 spots left. On July 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, I've got 17 positions available. And then in August, we've got 11. Those are the spots that we've got available. What I'm going to do today, is it important for you to have this daily commerce to do this? This is going to be important for you to have this, isn't it? What I'm going to do for the first 5 people that want to make a reservation that jump up and grab one of these, you're going to get a free subscription for 1 year.
Yep.
Thank you. Make your reservation. You're going to get a free subscription for 1 year. What we're going to do is we're going to close now, folks. I'm going to go to the back table. Anybody that has any questions, you're going to get a free subscription. You know what I'll do?
I've already signed up.
Okay. Somebody just snatched that out of my hand there. You know what I'll do? Anybody that wants to get registered today with me, the only way you're going to get a copy of the diskette, the portfolio, and I'll give everybody that gets registered. Paul, I'm going to go ahead and give everybody that gets registered today a 1-year subscription to the Daily Commerce.
Thank you.
Okay? Is that fair? Everybody that gets registered today is going to get a 1-year subscription. God bless. I want to thank you all. I'll answer your questions at the back table.
So we've been through 4 steps. Last I went through financing, and that of course would pertain to those of you who would like to finance your own deals by using conventional and non-conventional lending institutions. Number 5 is partnerships, and Craig talks pretty well. He goes into partnerships and what's necessary to create partnerships. Now, I'm not telling you not to create partnerships, but I'm teaching a program to where you can sell contracts. Therefore, you are not necessarily getting into a partnership. This is not a partnership, and for those of you who have a lot of fear and who are looking to just get started without a lot of liability, that's why I showed you this slide earlier this week, where I showed the comparison of what we do with partnerships. And that is your 3 ways to deal with investors. You borrow the money, or you 50-50 split the money, and then you do a first-in, first-out deal with your investor. Now, in creating those types of partnerships, you're obviously putting yourself into more liability, because you now have the opportunity to own property along with someone else, and you also have the responsibility of owning that property. So if you can afford to do that, please do it. It will help you make a lot more money a lot quicker. However, the program that I'm teaching this weekend has to do with non-partnerships. It's a quicker return. There's no risk. You have nothing to fear. You get that purchase agreement out. You've done your physical and financial analysis, and now you're ready to rock. If you don't get the offer accepted and you haven't negotiated the deal, you go on to another deal. Okay? Not every deal is going to work. But the more deals that you work on and the more experience you give yourself by getting beat up in the field is going to give you the opportunity to learn more and develop more relationships. And that's the bottom line. Okay? Now, a lot of you ask, well, geez, you know, last week we came to a seminar because they told us we were going to be able to use Damien and Dante's money. That's what I'm going to talk about right now. In order to receive Damien and Dante's money, you must have a deal. We do that for a reason. For years in the past, we were offering the investors list to just about anybody, and what it did was it polluted the investors list. Therefore, a lot of people don't really get it, and they go in and they start making phone calls to these investors saying, hey, let me have some money. It doesn't work that way, and all it does is pollute the list. So in order to receive your investors list, you will not receive it in your package. You will receive it when you have a deal. The person that is going to give you or issue you or make that decision on the investors list is Wes Simmons. Okay? You call Wes at the 800 number, and he will then help you analyze the deal to make sure it's profitable and help you understand how to structure it and how to put together the investment portfolio to send the investor. And I think I've reiterated myself fairly clearly throughout the weekend that you don't start asking people for money, nor do you ask people about deals, nor do you tell people about deals, because it won't do you any good. The only thing telling someone about a deal will do is get them frustrated because they can't see the profit. You need it on paper. You need to have it professionally put together. Is everybody clear on that? That's the only way you're going to get money. So that's how you use Dante and Damien's money, is by going and finding a deal, putting the numbers together, or getting a contract on the deal, and then calling Wes and letting him know what the deal is all about. All right? Now, one thing I'd like to explain is escrow. What we need to do at this point is, once we've accomplished the partnerships portion of the program, which will be step 5, we need to sell and make a profit. What I've done is I've shown you, first of all, how to go out and locate the property. Okay, you use the materials in the books, you make a lot of phone calls, you start developing relationships, then you get the list coming in, you take a look at the property, you analyze and inspect it, you write the contract, and now you're ready to go. You've got your investor portfolio together, but we've got to close the deal. There's got to be some money coming out of this deal somewhere. So, in order to sell and make a profit, we need to understand the escrow process, but we don't need to know what happens in escrow. We don't need to know a whole lot about it. We just need to know what happens and how we get our money. So basically what we have is an investor, we have a seller, and we have you. Now you have created the contract. And you have written it assignable. Okay? So by writing it assignable, you can now transfer it to the investor. All right? We talked about putting ads in the newspaper. We've also talked about Dante and Damien's money, how to get it. So we know the numbers are going to work. We just need to find someone who's willing to buy it. Now we find the investor and he's willing to buy it. All right? So what we do is when the investor agrees and he says, I want to buy it, we take it, that is the contract, to escrow. All escrow is a third-party, non-adversarial unit of which we deposit all funds. So the investor is going to deposit his money into escrow. Okay? When he deposits his money in escrow, he is going to add your money for the contract in this money in escrow. Does everybody follow that? You got a purchase price, $100,000 property, purchase price $50,000. You're selling the $50,000 worth of equity for $10,000. Therefore, the investor gets $40,000, you get $10,000. The $10,000 or the $50,000 is here. It's deposited into escrow. At the same time, you and your investor go into the escrow agent's or the escrow officer's office. You sit down, and at that time, you create a demand for $10,000, let's say, on that $100,000 property. You create a demand. Now, the escrow person can help you create the demand, or you can get an attorney that will help you create a demand that you can use over and over again. A demand is only an instrument in escrow to show where the funds go. There are all sorts of different funds that are deposited into escrow that have to be paid for, and then the escrow company is who disperses all those funds. Okay? So now your demand is being issued to give you $10,000 at the close of escrow. At the same time, your name comes off the contract. Whose name goes on the contract? The investor. You do that you do it simultaneously. Okay, so that's why you and the investor go to the escrow company together, and you make sure that your name goes on the demand and his name goes on the contract, or her name goes on the contract. Okay? Once that's done, at the close of escrow, which is usually about 60 days, the $10,000 that's been deposited into escrow goes to you. The additional money goes to the seller, and the investor takes the deed. You no longer have anything to do with this deal. It is not a partnership. Now, would anybody rather have their money in 5 days or in 1 day rather than in 60? Okay? We got a $10,000 contract. We both agreed that the investor will pay the $10,000, and I'm willing to accept it out of escrow. However, Jim, you're my investor. I'm going to sell you my contract for $10,000. However, Jim, I'd be willing to sell you my contract for $8,000 today if you give me a cashier's check for $8,000, and I'll set up a separate partnership agreement with you on the side that if for some reason you don't close escrow, I'll give you $8,000 back. However, I have 30 days after that date to pay you back. Fair enough? You just saved $2,000, right? Everybody follow that? He's going to write me a cashier's check for $8,000 today, which I can use at my own will. And I've also, in that separate partnership agreement, told him that I need additional 30 days beyond the closing date of escrow to pay him back. So if he falls out of escrow for some reason, I have that additional time to come up with the $8,000 to pay him back. And in the meantime, I am using his $8,000 to flip another deal somewhere.
Right. Now you do this after you enter escrow.
I'm sorry?
You do this after you enter
No, this is prior to escrow.
Before escrow.
You do it before. I say, Jim, we've got it all set up. We're ready to go to the escrow office, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll discount my $10,000 contract, or yeah, $10,000 contract to $8,000. I'll save you $2,000 as long as I can get my money today. He goes down to the bank, gets a cashier's check, gives me $8,000. I put the money in my bank to use freely, and I've got approximately 90 days to use it. Fair? Okay? You can have your demands written up personally for yourself through an attorney, or you can work through the escrow officer. They may have a demand available. They are the ones with the instruments in escrow. They can help you develop that. Mm-hmm. Okay? So that's where the money comes from. We close the deal. Is it simple? It's simple. You don't need to know anything about escrow. Like I said, with that contract, if you've written something in there and it doesn't make sense, or it's the wrong box that you checked, or for whatever reason it doesn't make sense to the escrow officer, they're going to change it for you. All you've done is negotiated the deal by developing the purchase agreement into a contract. Yes, Frank?
Do you pay the escrow anything out of your 10?
Nope, I don't pay anything. The investor, it's the investor's deal, not mine.
Okay.
Yep. Okay? Yeah.
When you say pay them back, so many days to pay them back, how does it mean?
What I'm saying is if the investor for some reason falls out of the deal during the 60-day escrow process, I have an additional 30 days to come up with the $8,000 in case I have to give it back to him. Okay? So that gives me 90 days to use $8,000.
Why only 90 days? You're going to keep it forever.
No, because he fell out of escrow and I got to pay him
Doesn't fall
back.
out of escrow,
Then it's mine.
it's your money.
That's it. It's a done deal. And more than likely, if it's a good deal and we're already sitting down and ready to deposit this thing into escrow, is it going to fall out?
No.
Nope. Yeah.
What if you find an investor up in your area, up there, and we down here in Southern California? Can
Okay.
we still do the deal?
Yeah, you can utilize investor capital anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world.
Can you put it in escrow down here?
You're going to need to get together because I wouldn't want to have someone depositing my contract and not taking my name off the assignable contract without getting the demand. You know what I mean? I want my name off the contract, and I want my name on the demand, and I want to make sure that my investor and I sit down together and do that.
In other words, no matter where it's at, you get together.
Right. Now, if it's not done in escrow, what I'll do is I'll take the assignment clause off. If I'm discounting it for the 8, I'll take the assignment clause off, and I'll put his name in the contract, and he can go in then and deposit the contract just like he would normally. It's still an assignable contract because we've made an agreement with the seller that they would allow us to do that. All right?
When you say you're taking it off, you're just literally scratching it off?
Scratch it off. Or, yeah, you just scratch it off and put the partners, because it said and/or assigns. So now you write, you take Gus Hunt or whatever your name is, you write it off, you scratch it off, and you put partner and then the name on it. And if they don't like it in escrow, they'll change it for you. But it is an assignable contract. Okay? And the seller's already agreed to it. Now, in my experience, what I found is that there is a flaw, and one thing that's very difficult to get around in writing contracts. And I think I'm the only one that presents this in any seminar in the United States. And it's because I wanted the deal so bad. I wanted to sell my first contract so bad that I would do anything to do it. Does anybody know what the hardest part about getting someone to agree to on these contracts would be? And/or signs. Assigning a contract to someone else tells the banker or tells the individual what?
You're
That
not going to keep it yourself.
it just told them that you just got out of a no money down real estate seminar. Okay? What it means is you don't have any money, but you're going to look for it. And if your BS mask isn't big enough at this point and you haven't convinced them that you can come up with the money, they're not going to want the and/or signs in there. All right? Because what it does is it takes up too much time. It takes up too much time in the bank. It takes up their secretary's times. It takes up the loan officer's time because they want to start financing immediately. And they're assuming that you're going to purchase the property, so when they see and/or signs, they know that you're not going to end up buying the property. Therefore, it makes it very difficult to get it accepted. Now, can I negotiate the terms of the agreement to the bottom line and have the and/or signs be the only stipulation in that agreement that's left that we have to negotiate? Right. So I can come to my bottom line, I can find out what my purchase price is, I can find out what type of contingencies I can use in that agreement, and then the bottom line is the banker tells me, look, I like everything about this deal, I'm willing to sell it to you for this price, but no one in this bank is going to accept this and/or signs. That's what happened to me on my first contract. Okay? So, my first contract, I went in, I negotiated the deal, I got it down to the bottom line. It was a condo. 2 condos that had been called back to me through the lenders and brokers directory. I don't do anything different than I'm asking you folks to do on Monday. I make phone calls once a month to all of my lenders and all of my brokers in the lenders and brokers directory and also my REO guy. They called me and they said, Gus, call this guy at the bank because he's got 2 condos right now that he'll sell you. I went down to the bank. He wanted $28,000 for each condo. They were 2-bedroom, 1 bath, and they were probably worth $40,000 apiece. I got in there, I did the negotiations. He told me how much he was willing to take for it. I got all the contingencies lined up, and at that point, the one thing that he didn't like was the and/or signs. He would not take it assignable. So instead of being discouraged and not working on the deal because I couldn't buy it, because I didn't have the money to fund it, I then took that negotiating tool, which was the purchase agreement at that time, and not a contract yet, because I couldn't get the seller to sign it. I went to a bunch of people and I told them, look, you can buy a $28,000 condo right now that'll cash flow all day long that's worth $40,000. Would you be interested? How many people do you think I had interested?
A few.
I had quite a few people interested, and they were just in the office. One of my best friends in the office, his name is Kevin Kendrick. You guys can call him and talk to him. He's a very good person, and we've learned a lot with each other in the office. I went to Kevin, I said, Kevin, Mike will buy this contract from me for $5,000 right now. However, what I'd like to do, because you need a place to live and you're my friend, I'd like to offer it to you for $2,000. Now, he didn't know that I didn't have it under contract at the time. I just told him how much he could buy it for and what it was worth. He said, really, because I could get it to him for about 5% down also. He said, really, I'd be interested. I said, great. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it. But what I would like you to do is sign this. This is a real estate transfer of buyer's interest. Has anybody ever heard of that? If you've heard of it, you're as full of BS as I am. Because this is the biggest BS in the world right here. Okay? What I did was I went to Kevin and I said, on this day, the agreement is made by and between Gus Hunt and Kevin Kendrick this day on the 7th day of March, 1993. It is hereby mutually agreed that Gus shall be paid a finder's fee in the amount of $2,000 for giving Kendrick all rights and interest to purchase the property located at blank and complete the escrow. And I didn't even spell escrow right. Payment. A cashier's check in the amount of $2,000 shall be made payable to Gus Hunt and shall be held with Jonathan Gastello, and his name's not spelled right, until the close of escrow and Kevin Kendrick takes possession of said property. In any unforeseen event, escrow is not closed, this agreement shall be dissolved, and then 3 signatures, myself, Kevin, and Jonathan. Now, Jonathan is a mutual friend. So all I was asking Kevin to do was go down to the bank and get a cashier's check in my name and give it to Jonathan, so that I didn't have control of the check, I couldn't cash it. As soon as he did that, I told him, and we wrote in DeLucci, Reno, Nevada, Meadowood Condos. Fair enough? Okay? Then I took him down, as soon as he had that check in his hand, as soon as Jonathan had a check in his hand, to the condo. I showed him the condo. I introduced him to the banker. He wanted to do the deal. So all we did was take the same contract that I had, scratch out all my name and the and/or signs at the top, and put Kevin's name in. And now the contract was ready to rock. At that point, he started the escrow process. He put his 5% down. He closed the deal, and in 60 days, what did I have?
$2,000.
$2,000 bucks. First contract I ever sold. Would this contract, if I had not gotten the $2,000 from Jonathan Gastillo, do you think it would have held up in court? A verbal agreement in California, folks, will hold up in court. This would, in fact, hold up in court. If I took this to any judge and I said, look, you know, he closed escrow on the deal that I put down here. Jonathan has the check, and for some reason Jonathan went behind my back and gave him his check back. Do you think a judge would give me my $2,000?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But I made it up because I wanted the deal so bad. Okay? So that's what I did to sell my first contract, and that's something you will not see in any other real estate seminar because it's something that I did to be creative. Yes?
Is it fairly common for banks not to accept the and/or assign?
That's why I'm saying, yes, it is very common for that. Now, if you're dealing with individuals in foreclosure, that would not be common because they don't care. They want out of the deal. But with banks, it's going to be common that you're going to find they're not going to want to accept the and/or signs. Okay?
Just reiterate what the letter is.
Okay, this letter basically says that I'm depositing, or Kevin's going to deposit $2,000 into a separate escrow account besides, it's not a legal escrow company, but it's the same concept as escrow. We're giving the $2,000 to someone we both trust. Okay? So that when we give that money to the person that we both trust, he's going to give me my money if Kevin closes the deal, or if he doesn't close the deal, financing doesn't go through or whatever, then he's going to give the $2,000 check back to Kevin. So he acts as that third-party non-adversary. Okay? It's creative thinking is the point that I'm getting across to you, and you can do anything you want. There's no mortgage police, right?
Right.
They're not going to come arrest me for doing this.
But the banker wouldn't take the and/or signs.
Excuse me.
You'd have substituted at all. Would that any good?
Nope, he didn't want to sign the contract. He didn't want to sign he wanted. Reno's a hot market. He could sell this property to anybody he wants. He wants to close the deal as quickly as he can. So he didn't need to take it assignable because he didn't. I was the first one on the deal. The bank called me directly because of the development of relationships that I'd made on the phone. And realistically, folks, I had not even developed a relationship with the bank that called me on this deal. All I had done was called them several times and made sure my name was on their Rolodex file as an investor with money to spend immediately in Reno, Nevada. That was the only relationship that I had developed with the bank, and the bank was in Nevada. Remember I told you about the 8-hour radius? They were in Las Vegas. I was in Reno, but they had a connection in Reno with another bank. So when I left my name in their Rolodex as an investor with money to spend now, they then called me and said, talk to this guy in Reno, he's got 2 condos available. Okay? So my point with this whole deal here is I'm going to take one of the main things that a lot of people have probably found problems in getting real estate deals done, and that is the and/or signs, and I'm eliminating it. As long as you guys can find someone that's trustworthy, that you can do this on the side as a separate partnership agreement. And you can sell a contract that way. Because what it does is as soon as you sell that contract, your BS mask gets bigger, you feel better, and now you can go out and you can convince someone the next time to accept the and/or signs because you know now how to get the money. There's a question?
Actually, I was going to ask you about, you know the 15-day period we were talking about
Yes.
before? What if you shrink it down to 5 days or something? Would that have an effect?
That might have worked. I don't know. He didn't want to accept it, and I wanted the time to go out and locate the investor. And I had several people that were interested in buying the deal anyway, but I did it for Kevin as a favor.
Is it hard to find people that will buy something sight unseen?
He didn't see it. He saw the property. I took him down, showed him the property. When he saw the property, then he agreed that he didn't want to change this contract. See, he signed the contract before he saw the property, and he gave the cashier's check to Jonathan. Then we went down and looked at the property together. We took the banker down. He showed us the property. Kevin agreed that he wanted to go through with the deal at that time, so we left this with Jonathan until the close of the deal. Now, here's a suggestion for you. Kevin's one of my best friends. Did I treat him any different than I would any other business partner? No. Don't do it. Your mother, your father, your brother, your friends, your neighbors, I don't care who they are, treat them as business partners only at all times. Because unfortunately, when you deal with people that you love and care about and something screws up, it causes a lot more problems than it does with just a regular business partner. So always write contracts and get through those types of things with your friends just like you would any other business partner. Okay? Any other questions?
Are those typos entirely unintentional?
No? Oh yeah, it's entirely unintentional. But what I'm saying is, this is approximately 3 months after I bought my house that I showed you yesterday. And I was excited, I was new, I was a moron in this business. But yet I went out and because I had the desire to make these things happen, I went out and created something to make it work. And I could have sold this contract to anybody, because what I would have done was I would have allowed an investor that I didn't know leave the $2,000 with his mother or something like that. I don't care as long as I've got a contract that's signed by his mother and him and me. Because when I take it to court, whether it has typos or not, I know a judge is going to allow me to take the money back or get the money back. Okay? So what I'm saying is I'm being creative here because of the desire to close the first deal. Once I close that deal, I have done more than 40 real estate deals since then. Okay? Different types, not all contracts. But this really blew me into the future with real estate investing, and that's why I'm here today, 2.5 years after being a bartender. Okay? Because of the desire to make it happen. One thing, on a closing note before I bring Eric up, because I want him to go over some numbers with you before we leave. I want to share with you a book that I picked up the other day. It's a little overpriced, but it's a very simple little book, and it's written by Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan wrote this book, I don't think to make money, I don't think he's going to make millions of dollars on this little book. But I think that Michael Jordan's probably very successful based on his ability to help other people and to share his ability with his teammates and with a lot of other people to help them become successful as well. So in my opinion, after reading the book, granted it's very simple, I think that Michael Jordan was only trying to help people like you and me understand the process of becoming a superstar. And in this book, what he does is he goes through basically a 6-step process. Goals, fears, commitment, teamwork, fundamentals, and leadership. It's a very simple book, and it's a great one to keep in your briefcase. So I suggest that highly. Oh, sorry. The name of the book is Michael Jordan on the Pursuit of Excellence. I Can't Accept Not Trying.
Who publishes that?
Published by Harper, San Francisco.
One more time?
Harper, San Francisco.
Cannot accept what?
I can't accept not trying. And it relates a whole lot to what we've been trying to teach you this weekend. That the fundamentals, the basic fundamentals, the 6-step process that I've been teaching you is so simple, anybody can do it. There's not one person in this class that can't do it. You've heard other speakers constantly telling you about other people that have done things, about themselves and why they do the things that they do. The reason that we haven't done the things that we want to do at this point is because our motivation level has been dragged down by dream destroyers and by other people who don't believe in us. So we're the only people that can believe in when we believe in ourselves, we're the only ones that can make us go forward. And that's really the key to this program. It has nothing to do with real estate. Matter of fact, I have a little story that I like to tell. And that is, let's just say that you took the same $1,000 and you invested it into a hot dog cart on the street corner. It was a brand new business. You knew nothing about selling hot dogs, and the first day you went out and sold 5 hot dogs. The first week you went out and you sold 20 hot dogs each day. The next month you sold 100 hot dogs, and by the 6th month you were selling 200 hot dogs a day. Are you successful? Yes. I'm very successful, because you've developed relationships around you, you've met the people, they love your hot dogs, and now you're making great sales. But how much money are you making a day at 50 cents per transaction?
Not too much.
200, $100 a day, right? Is that what you guys want to make?
No.
Okay. So what you're looking at then is taking a vehicle, which is real estate, doing the same thing the guy at the hot dog cart did because he wanted to be successful and make $100 a day. And there's a formula that creates wealth. And that is, first, you have to have personal desire. And motivation. If you don't have that, you can't get to step 2. The second thing that you need to have is a vehicle. The vehicle could have been the hot dog cart for $1,000, or it could have been this seminar and the lifetime associateship you have with us, and it could be real estate. How much money are you going to make on your first real estate transaction in the next 6 months? It's more than 50 cents, isn't it? Okay? So you got a great vehicle, you got the personal desire and motivation, because we feel that's number 1 and get you out there and doing it. And the third thing is you need to compound your money. Compounding is the secret to wealth, period. The same guy makes $100 a day with the hot dog cart. He doubles a penny 30 times. How much money does he have? That means he compounds it each day for 30 days.
Never been able to figure it out.
Over $2 million. Took a penny, doubled it the next day, 2 cents. The next day, 4 cents. Next day, 8 cents. And by the end of 30 days, he had over $2 million. Same guy who was making 50 cents per transaction. So if you can go out and make $5,000 in your first transaction, what are you going to do with the $5,000? You're going to roll it over, make 10. Then you make 20, and then you make 40, and so forth. You don't have to do that 30 times. Okay? That's why in 2.5 years, and in 3 years, and in 5 years, the success stories you've heard here this weekend, these people have come from living in their brother's garage, living with their parents and no money, eating oranges to survive, that in that short period of time, these people are all making more money than they ever had dreamed of in their life. And that's why it's important that when you call our office, you understand who you're talking to in that office. You're talking to beginners who are self-motivated and have the desire to help you learn, and they're going to learn at the same time. As a matter of fact, that's probably the best people you can talk to in our office. You're going to talk to intermediate people who can answer most of your questions but may not be able to answer all of them. They'll probably put you on hold and find out the answer to the question. You're going to talk to people who are successful and are making lots of money, and they'll be able to get you off and on the phone, on and off the phone in a matter of minutes to help you get that first deal done. One thing I'd like to do before we close up is, when we help other people, that's extremely important, and that's one of the big facets, besides being self-motivated to go out and do these deals. You got to help other people, or you'll just be another selfish person out there making a lot of money and being lonely.
What I do is teach. I teach children that are 3 and 4 years old, and I teach at UCLA also. I teach preschool teachers and directors. And before I came this weekend, I've always focused on the children and how to help children. And recently I discovered I wanted a home of my own. And I happened to see your offering on the TV and came, and I feel so changed by this experience, because now I feel like I can also go out and find a home and own a home, and maybe more than one. I'd like to have lots of homes. And when we were asked about our goal, I saw the top of a mountain, a home with a beautiful view and a breeze coming through, and I believe I'll get that. And when I do, then I can use that and more assets, develop more assets, and help children more than ever.